Welcome to Kicking Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb with host Christina Nation, the ultimate guide for parents navigating the challenging yet rewarding journey of raising teenagers. Join your host Christina as she dives deep into the world of adolescence, tackling everything from academic pressures and social dynamics to mental health and independence. So please, welcome the host of Kicking Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb, Christina Nation.
Welcome to Kick Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb. I'm your host, Christina Nation, and we are streaming on Bold Brave TV. I am super excited about my guest today for our show. I would just love to introduce Janelle Wesley Edwards, a powerhouse transformational coach, inspiration specialist, and youth advocate dedicated to guiding young people and parents through life's toughest challenges. Her passion for helping teens break free from limiting beliefs and step into their greatness has made her a sought after speaker, mentor, and coach. Janelle is the visionary behind the Life is a Puzzle, Life is a Game coaching framework, which empowers youth and families to navigate life with strategy, resilience, and purpose. She believes, just like jazz, life is a combination of regular patterns and chaotic notes. But through improvisation and adaptability, we can all create a masterpiece. Her impact extends beyond coaching. Janelle has been crowned Miss SSC, is a two-time best-selling author, including the book Against All Odds that her and I co-authored together. So I'm super excited to have her with us today. And was honored as Nexstar Media's Remarkable Woman for the state of Mississippi. Her work in leadership, personal development, and community advocacy has even been recognized in the U.S. 117th Congregational Record, solidifying her as a beacon of hope and transformation. On today's episode of Kick Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb, Janelle will share her expertise on how parents can help their teen overcome self-doubt, break free from negative cycles, and unlock their limitless potential. If you're ready to bridge that gap, rebuild connection, and equip your teen with the tools for lifelong success, this conversation is a must. So prepare to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Janelle Wesley Edwards is here to help you and your teen change the game for good. Welcome, Janelle.
Thank you and welcome for that. Thank you for that awesome introduction. I was almost like, wow, is that me? Thank you for having me.
Yes, so excited. So excited about the topic that we have today. So let's just go ahead and dive in. So you have, well, life is often described as a journey, but you call it a game and a puzzle.
Yeah.
What inspired this unique perspective, and how does it shift when we approach personal growth?
Well, it's a game in the fact that I believe that Earth is a school for all of us to evolve and elevate and through our consciousness, mind expansion. So in that way, it's a game, but you have to navigate something I call FETA, which is an acronym for feelings, emotions, thoughts, and actions. So that's the game part of it. It is a puzzle because when we we have all of these pieces that we need to put together. Just like in a puzzle, if you put puzzle pieces together, you what you want to create is that pretty picture on the puzzle box. But if you've ever, and I'm telling my age because I put puzzles together back in the day. They got puzzle technology and stuff now. But I actually sat down and put puzzles together. And so the corner pieces, you always look for the corner pieces because you know that develops your framework. Mm-hmm. So in the corner pieces is what I tell my participants. One is wealth, your finances, because in this existence, you need money. That's just a fact. And then the other is your aspirations. What are your dreams? What do you aspire to be, to do, to have, or become? And then there's spirituality. And I'm broad with spirituality. I know people are coded to religions, but we're spiritual beings on having a life experience, a human experience. So your spirituality in whatever framework you put that in. And then your health, because what you're a divine deposit from the creator. And so your health is a factor for you to be here to do what it is, to make that deposit from the creator for humanity. So that's the framework of the corner pieces of the puzzle. And then in the center is what I call ERS, and that's emotions, your relationships, and your social engagement. Because even though you are supposed to be whole within yourself. That's why I say, Jazz, love yourself before you love anyone or anything else.
Right.
Because the greatest love affair that you will ever have in this existence is with yourself. You have to live here first. That's why people who, a lot of people think if I just had more money, my problems would be solved. Or if I was healthier, my problems would be solved. If I, just all of these things, if I had the car, the house, the pretty girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, especially with our teens, they're so impressionable and they think if they had these things that they would feel better. But those things don't make you better in here. They're external things, and they're things that in this physical dimension that people make you feel good about having them. Mm-hmm. But we all know, we can tell stories about people who have had all of these things that are depressed, that are anxious, that are not happy within themselves. So those are not the things that you have to master. The game is in here, So that is the thing that that I put across when I speak to young people and to participants in my workshops.
Yeah, I love that. I love the analogy of a puzzle because I absolutely agree that through life we're trying to fit the pieces together, and sometimes we think we got the right piece and it doesn't quite fit.
Right, exactly. Have you've been doing a puzzle where you will try to mash, and I actually use that because I've done it several times. There's this piece and you try to mash, it looks like it fits, and you try to mash it in and it doesn't fit. And I tell them we do that all the time in our lives. Like the piece doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. But we're mashing it in there.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to fit. You're going to fit. I did that in my first marriage. No, it don't fit.
Right.
So don't try to mash the puzzle pieces in, people, But it's all a process that we go through. And then when you find that it doesn't fit, and the lessons that you learned on that journey, it helps you to find the piece that fits
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
you or put that puzzle together.
Yeah. And I love how you had the four corners, because you know, same thing when I start with the puzzle, and I do a lot of puzzles with my residents in my adult family home. And so, you know, we always start with doing the outer borders, and you have those four corners. It's kind of
Yes.
like your foundation, right? Like you said, the health and wealth and spirituality is kind of like our core. And so we start with that, and then as we dive deeper, then the emotions and the relationships become what we need to work to fit those pieces together to have success in life, right? I love that analogy. That's great.
And
So
that's why
many
R,
people, go
I was just
ahead.
saying the R is relationships are in the middle because your relationships, that emanates out to those corners in that framework that you're talking about. So it's very
Yeah.
key. And that a lot of that is what traumatized. We all have childhood trauma. That everybody. I don't care if you had all the money in the world, your parents had all the money in the world, or they were, impoverished. It does not matter. From A to Z, everybody experiences some type of childhood trauma. Now it could be small T trauma, like somebody saying, you you ugly, that might be a small T trauma. And you think you're ugly until you say, you know what, I'm the best me I can be, and I'm a fractal energy of God. And, somebody told me that one time, and I said, you know what, I missed you on the last cover of Vogue. So when they called me up, I'm like, I haven't seen you on the magazine cover, honey. So, you know what? But that could be like a small T trauma. And then you have your big traumas, like, it could go anything from domestic violence to being touched inappropriately. It could be anything huge with big T traumas. But we all experience trauma. And I think because we don't know who we are, is even our bodies, I say our first holy trinity when we come in as a baby is your your dominant female energy, your dominant male energy, and the doctor. Those three. That's the trinity. And so, because we weren't educated, and I wasn't educated about how my body works. It And we listen to everything the doctor says, and I'm not putting down doctors. I'm not saying that, but I think the more that we know about how we work, like with my young people, I give this pre-evaluation. How many minds do you have? And they'll say one. And I said, no, you have two. You have a conscious mind and you have a subconscious mind.
Right.
And one of them said, how do you have two minds? I said, baby, you have two brains. You have a left brain and you have a right brain. So it's just going back to that, even that little thing that you don't know that you have a conscious mind, and even how that operates. Your imaginative, creative mind. And your subconscious mind is the mind below, the programmable mind. And those codes are uploaded in your formative years from naught, which is the last trimester in your mother's womb, to 7 years. So even if your mother had a traumatic pregnancy, you felt that trauma, but your body houses it. And so I don't know the trauma that I had when I was 1 or two. I can't articulate that. But
Right. Yeah.
when you start to grow up and you start to have these feelings and emotions, and you're like, where is that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
You don't even understand that you could have been having traumatic experiences from the last trimester to entering this world,
Right.
6 months, 12 months, 18 months, because you don't know how to verbalize what you are feeling,
Right.
And so once that happens, you get a negative feeling and you say, I don't like the way I feel. I don't like this feeling. So you develop what I call a protection code to
Right.
protect you from not feeling that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that protection code could be people pleasing. Uh, it could be, wanting to be seen and, just, I'm loud, but um, because I am loud and demonstrative. I know that about myself. But I just like to be quiet sometimes. People think I'm like, and my husband, I said I'm an introvert. And he said, lies, you, because I do know how to, he said, I do know how to be socially engaging, but I really like time alone by myself. I love
Right.
reading books. I love
Yeah.
meditating. I love being with me. I love going to the
Yeah.
park and putting my feet in the earth and just looking at the clouds. Those type of things I love for me. But people, I know people around me would say, Janelle, she's just lively. But that's just the spark. I just love people because when I meet people, I feel like I know that I'm meeting a fractal energy of God. And I want to know that energy. I want to know as much of God as I can. And so when
Yeah.
I meet somebody, I'm just excited to meet them. And because you're
Right.
here, you have something to deposit. Let's find out what that is that your deposit is, because in that respect, that's how we come to we're connected, because there is but one life,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
expressed in angelic beings, it's expressed in human beings, it's expressed in the animal kingdom, and it's expressed through the plant kingdom. And we're
Right.
all connected.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah. I
fractal
love that.
energies of that one source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I completely agree. I say the same thing to my husband. I try to explain to him that I'm an introvert, and he's like, "What are you talking about? Yeah, right. We're always in the mix and talking to everybody." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it takes a lot of energy, and then I really need downtime by myself to rejuvenate." Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah. But I
that is
completely
so
agree and
true.
have that same philosophy that that interconnectedness that brings us all together, and how important focusing on relationships are, and our relationships with others, and how that's affected by our experiences, like you said, the little traumas and the big traumas, and how that is expressed, or how we express ourselves through those experiences, and then how that affects our relationships, and really life is all about the relationships, right? It's like that's how we learn and grow, and you know being a parent, we're learning and growing as we're raising our children, and then our teens are learning and growing, and we try to be the role model and teach them the skills that they need, to, like you said, build their own puzzle, right? And
Mm-hmm.
have those interconnectedness for themselves, and that self-love, like you mentioned earlier as well, that first starts with the relationship with themselves, and that
Right.
self-love in order to have successful relationships with others. So just love all of this conversation. So wonderful. All right. So you also talk about, many people are focusing on winning in life, whether that's, in career, as you said, wealth being part of the puzzle, or relationships, like we talked about, being the center, or finances. So, how does your coaching framework help individuals kind of break free from that short term thinking and play this game that you're describing?
Okay, that's a very good question. Um, the game, and that's the first thing, and like I said before, it all comes from the formative years, right? So if it's not expressed through your upbringing, whoever is around you in your formative years, that hey, baby, this is a game, and you're here to win your personal game, right? If that is not expressed, our subconscious mind is programmed and conditioned to beliefs, right? If we are not brought up in a fashion where that is there's openness, there's space, we become, and this is what I call a human bot. We become
Mm,
a robot, right?
mm,
We're a human bot because we are coded and programmed. Something I talk about in my workshops is that just a simple analogy of how your mind works. And first of all, and people think your mind is up here. Your mind is not up here. Your brain is here. Your brain is physical, but your minds are spiritual. Okay.
right.
So they're intangible. But what the brain does, the brain is like the mad scientist who's in the lab cooking up all of these chemicals that will be sent to all the cells in
Mm,
your body, but the messages are sent to the brain through the mind, through what the
right.
mind says about feelings and emotions, right? So, if you do not understand how your minds work, in a simple analogy, I ask them, do you all text? And of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, have you ever been texting and you put in a word, and I'll use an example of like cousin. We know how to spell cousin, Cousin, but you may put in Cuzzin. Hey, cousin, right?
Yeah.
Your phone is programmed, and your phone is going to, when you type that in, it's going to put in Cousin, even though you didn't want to. You put
Right.
in what you wanted to put in. But your phone, because it's programmed, it autocorrects. With
Right.
me? So when you understand how your minds work, you can now navigate on the playing field.
Mhm.
When you understand that your programmable subconscious mind has been uploaded with all of these codes in
Mhm.
your formative years from people who are around you who are really just trying to do the best they can and the best they know
Mhm.
how to do. Because people, I had one girlfriend one time. I was a good mother. I said, stop saying that. because I know some stuff anyway. But I said, say, say, and this is what I say. I say, I was the best mother I knew how to be at
Right.
that time
Mm-hmm.
with the
Yeah.
information that I had.
Right. It's even like me
That
with 4 kids, and people think, oh, I each of my kids, I raised them the same. I'm the same parent. It's this, but no, with each
right,
of my children, I was learning and growing through the process, and each of them had a different sense of me. Each of them had, a different part of me as I was growing through that. So yeah, definitely.
exactly. And you know it, and and that right there, what you're saying, and even our children, they're so different. And for my Christian folk, because I came up through Christian coding of religion. And I said the first book of the Bible, I said Cain killed Abel, honey. Cain killed Abel for nothing. It's like two parent home,
Mhm.
had all the money in the world because they ran the garden, all the
Mhm.
beachfront property, all the animals and pets that they could have had, and
Mhm.
Cain killed Abel. So I
Mhm.
tell them as to say, like, even your children, when they come here, and that's where it gets convoluted, because we're I told my oldest son, I said, I didn't know what being a parent was until you came. I was never a parent before, right?
Right.
So the birth of you made me a parent, right?
Mhm.
So all I was how my parents raised me.
Right.
The coding
Mhm.
that was uploaded on how to raise a child came from the coding that was uploaded from my parents' parents.
Right. Right. Mhm.
You see how this keeps going back?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if if there is never a breakthrough in an understanding of you have a conscious and subconscious mind,
Mhm.
that you're being programmed and conditioned to think a certain way, it
Right.
is not necessarily truth.
Right.
It's just how you've been coded to think. That's where we get all of
Mm.
the racism, the sexism, the all the
Right.
isms,
Mhm.
because people
And
have been coded to believe this. Go ahead. Yes.
yeah, and that's why it's so important for us to be intentional about breaking some of those generational patterns, right? Like you talked about that we experience trauma even while in the womb that we don't remember, but we express later in our life. But even it goes back even before then, because it's those generational patterns that get passed on from generation and generation, that until we can intentionally look at them, acknowledge them, and make that decision to change them, and then start, like you said, as we're learning and growing, make that choice to do it differently. um yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So you see how this, and that's why I say it's a game. The
Hmm.
game is to, um, and I use this analogy because we just had the Super Bowl, and I said this uh, um, when I was talking to my young people. I said, it would be very boring if the Kansas City Chiefs kicked off to the Eagles, and whoever caught the ball just ran completely down the field to the end zone while everybody else just stood around. I said, where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Nobody would have been watching any game any game, and I know the stats on games, but we do a lot of gaming, right? There are 3.32 billion people who game online, who are gamers. And
Right.
there are thousands of card games and thousands of board games and all of this. But what we've been conditioned to believe is it's about even competition. The root word means to strive together. Okay. So that's all it's supposed to be. The game is supposed to be fun, right?
Right.
Games are fun. That's why we love to play. And we do love to win. But the only game that you have to win is yours. You don't have to win
Mhm.
anybody else's game. That's
Yes,
why it
yes. I
doesn't
love
matter what people say to me or about me, baby. This is my game and I'm playing me. And
and
if you
playing all
know
out.
who, all out, honey. And if you know who you are, you would play you. And baby, we
Yeah.
would have a good time together playing.
Right. I think that is a perfect time to take a pause. We need to take a quick break for a word
Okay.
from our sponsors. So I am just so enjoying this conversation. Thank you so much, Janelle. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Kick Your Teens Troubles to the Curb. And we are having a great conversation with my guest, Janelle Wesley Edwards. So thank you for being here. We are streaming on Bold Brave TV, and we're just going to dive back into our conversation. So I have a question about, kind of we're talking about the puzzle of life, and so many of our teens, our people feel stuck because of those limiting beliefs. So like you said, we have these codes, right? And a lot of times they cause those limiting beliefs. So how does your framework help individuals identify and dismantle the invisible barriers that are holding them back?
Great question. The framework that I put it in, just as I was saying, just letting them know how their body works is incorporated in all that I do, right? So, and then I put it in the gaming framework. So I I'll just put it, when we come here, when we're babies, I say we're IPC. And what IPC is, that was my thing. You get an identity, which is a name, you get a personality, and you get a culture. And so you're coded to those things. Your culture, we have to call each other something. So your name, and then your personality that really creates your personal reality. Okay. So IPCs, you come in, right? So after 7 years of age in your formative years and that coding, that's in my research, that's when those codes, your subconscious mind is then on autopilot for 95% of your behaviors and actions from those codes that were uploaded from 0 to 7 years. So you're running on autopilot, right? On your decisions, your choices you make, how you feel, it's all autopilot, right? So now you become an NPC, which in the gaming world is non-playable character. And so what I break down to my young people is that, because I say you all are gaming, you all are on that game with that controller and you're playing. So you have the controller in your hand and you're looking at a screen where you are controlling an avatar. And so you're giving the signals through the controller for your avatar. You may say, go left, but your avatar goes right. You may say, lay down, but your avatar stands up. You may say, run, your avatar walk. So I break it down to them. That's how you're a non-playable character in the game of life, right? Because the coding that in the programming and the conditioning of your subconscious mind, you're operating 95% of your behaviors off of that, not off of who you are. So you're in the game. You're, and this is when your mind says, oh, I know I need to study, or I know I need to go to class or whatever. And your programmed body says, nah, we ain't going to class. No, we're going to go hang out over here. We're going to go, smoke weed and drink and whatever. We're going to go do these things when you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. But because of the codes that have been uploaded, because of the codes that have programmed you to say, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not a smart individual, you're going to be nothing like your mom or dad or somebody. These are traumas that have been uploaded to you. And so now your decisions that you're making, they are governing your body. You know in your mind what you're supposed to be doing, but you're just like the avatar in the game doing the opposite of everything. You're saying go right, but your avatar is going left. So that's being an NPC in the game of life. You're a non-playable character. You know what to do, right? So what's happening is, remember the theta that I talked about? Those feelings, those emotions, and those thoughts are governing your actions now. And that's your programmed body. And see, you'll hear mind, body, and soul, and they all mesh that together like it's one thing. No, your minds are spiritual. Your body is physical. And your soul is spiritual. So when we talk about all of these mental health issues, depression, anxiety, guilt, shame, violence, confusion, that is your soul who knows why it came to this earthly realm. Your soul knows why it's here. That is a clear indication from your soul that you are on the wrong path, that you need to exit off of this highway and reroute. That's
This has been Kicking Your Teens Troubles to the Curb with host Christina Nation. Tune in each week as Christina features expert interviews, real-life stories, and practical strategies that empower parents to connect with their teens and effectively address their struggles. Here, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.